Hello, Atlanta United fans. Welcome, 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 everyone from all corners of the earth and the universe. That's weird.
Okay.
What's going on here?
I
Okay,
don't know.
that's
It says
weird.
we're live.
Here we are live. That's oh
Not that I know
wow.
how any of this stuff works.
Okay, wow. StreamYard is that's weird. Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Hmm. I wonder if there's a delay.
What do you mean a delay?
Let me ask you a question. Do you have your phone on YouTube as well? I don't.
I have a phone. Do you want me to see if I can find us on YouTube?
You know what? I think this.
Wait, you
Hang on one second. Hang on one second.
It says that we're live and there's one person watching, which is probably me. Hmm. Are you talking? Because now I can't hear you. You're muted. You are muted.
Yep, I'm muted. I'm trying to see what I still keep hearing the echo. All right. It's not this. Still keep hearing the echo.
Hmm.
Didn't
Is it
hear
on my
that.
end?
No, I think we got it.
Okay,
We
cool.
got it. Okay, great.
Yay.
Awesome. I don't know what
Yay.
that was, but whatever. Hey Lisa, how are you?
Yay.
Welcome. Welcome. Let's start all over again. Welcome to the Atlanta United show with myself, T-Wil and Jennifer Taylor. And
Yo.
we are discussing this weekend's match with it's called a match if it's soccer. So we're discussing this weekend's match with Charlotte and what happened. And Jen, from my understanding, this game to you got off to an inauspicious start because of the protocols that they have you guys follow for visiting teams. Can you kind of speak to that for us?
Yeah, I'm actually like genuinely curious and we were kind of rapping before we went live about like what the situation is when you travel with an NFL team, right? Because I'm not sure. Like there aren't designated supporter sections. Like in MLS, we have very specific rules and protocols that we have to follow just, for general safety purposes. And it's not that, the stuff that you see on the newspapers with hooligans beating each other up over stupid soccer matches happens all the time, but there's always going to be some asshole in the room that wants to pretend that they're cool. So there are measures that are taken to make sure that you and a group of supporters can get in and out of a building in one piece. So I don't know what is going on with Charlotte's front office because they have done this stupid stuff like since they've come into the league. And so this week was extra fun because we had a security call. We had a designated plan of this is how we're going to get in the building. And then they turned around and said, oh, wait, you're at this gate, but you need to go all the way back over here on the other side of the stadium. And we're going to have you walk all the way through every Charlotte fan in the building.
Oh wow, are you serious?
It's just dumb. Yes, dead serious. Like,
Wow.
and yeah, so it was just stupid. And I guess, maybe it was better than last year where they split our sections up and had 2 sections of Charlotte people in the middle of 2 very large Atlanta traveling supporter sections. I don't understand, because they're really the only club in the league that does this. Even Oh Fuck You Orlando is better than this. So you have a problem when Oh Fuck You Orlando is better at you than something.
Wow. That's a problem. That's an issue.
Yeah. But I mean, outside of that, and fortunately it was early in the season. It wasn't a high stakes match or anything like that. Like, there was no, outside of people, banter and people getting flicked off and whatnot, everything worked out okay. It's just, it's stuff like that is just asking for trouble that we just don't need to ask for. Like, why make it that much harder? But outside of that, it was great away. We had several hundred people in the tailgate lot ahead of time. We had a couple of buses come up for it. Charlotte and Nashville are the 2 big ones, because they're super close, so it's easy for people to get to. It's a relatively inexpensive trip, unless you spend the night in Nashville, in which case you'll pay for your firstborn for a hotel room, which I'm sure
wow.
If you've never been to a Titans game, you probably know the drill. There is no cheap time to go to Nashville anymore. It's always $350 a night. And Lisa's asking if we can complain to Charlotte's front office, and that's not really a thing that we can do. There's other areas that we can raise this issue at, through supporter channels, and obviously our front office knows all about it, but it wouldn't be on the Charlotte front office to say, "Oh, sorry, I'll do better next year," because they keep doing the same bullshit, and they've been told.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's, one of those things where you have a bunch of football people running a soccer operation. That's my general take on that, because when you go to Charlotte for a soccer match, nothing really changes in the building except the banners that they hang. And I know we talked about this a little bit last week about how the Benz was purpose built to house both the football and the soccer operations separately. So there are things in place in the Benz that make it much more fan friendly and obviously team friendly for the soccer team in general. I don't get the vibes that they have any of that in Charlotte. I don't really get the vibes that they have that in New England. I think it's a little bit better done in Seattle, which are off the top. And I don't know what they're doing in Chicago, because I haven't been up there since they moved. But those are the teams in the league that are currently using NFL stadiums, right? We're the only team that uses an NFL stadium, but actually, is supposed to be there. It wasn't, oh, hey, by the way, I bought a soccer team, so you're going to play here too.
Okay. Yeah,
so you walk around and they've got banners, but everything in there still has Carolina Panthers branding.
Oh, wow.
If you walk around the Benz during an Atlanta United match, the only thing that you see in that stadium that's football related are the retired numbers that hang from the rafters. And then there's the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame thing. And there's some art. There's a little bit of art that doesn't change, but I know there's also some soccer art that doesn't change out for Falcons matches or Falcons games. So for the most part, when you walk into the Benz for an Atlanta United match, you're walking in there for a soccer match. And unless you know there's another tenant in there, you wouldn't know that there's another tenant in there.
Right.
Whereas
in this scenario, the Falcons and Atlanta United are both kids loved by both parents, and Carolina are basically, you've got one kid that they love and one kid that, I don't know, maybe they found or is an outcast, or they just you can really see there's a difference in how the parents feel about them. Is that
I like to think that Carolina is the oopsie baby, I thought it was menopause, but now I'm actually pregnant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But, that's how I feel about Carolina. So here we are, which is funny, because I don't actually feel like Charlotte's a real rival yet, right?
Okay.
I think Tepper's kind of forcing that on them in the same way that, Darren Eales went down to Orlando and forced that on us, right? So as far as again, goes back to they haven't taken anything from us yet. Right. And it's also funny because up until this match, the away team has dominated the series. For the last 4 matches before, it was the away team that won, which is interesting because, MLS away games are really hard to win. It's very hard to win on the road in MLS. The teams that win championships are the teams that figure out ways to get 8 to 10 road wins in a season.
Okay.
Because it's not that common. The way, keep in mind there is a specific, measurement that a soccer pitch has to be within. But every soccer pitch you go to play on is going to have slightly different dimensions. You're
Right.
allowed to tweak the size of your field to best suit your playing style.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like Nashville this year decided to, I think, shorten and narrow their pitch by a few feet. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have to go play on the postage stamp that is Yankee Stadium, and there's no width to it, right? And Yankee Stadium is literally, I think, the worst venue in the entire league, even worse than Bank of America Stadium. There's no worse place to watch a soccer match than Yankee Stadium because there's just no angle to watch the pitch. And it's very obvious that the Yankees hate having the soccer team in there and, literally just want to kick them out. But that pitch has been physically measured and proven to be too short and too narrow to be a FIFA standard pitch, and they don't seem to care about it. Okay. So it really does change the game dynamic and your tactics and your playing strategy when you're going in and you're manipulating the size of the field all the time. So It's interesting this season that Nashville got a new manager in, and their new manager has now gone in and changed all of the and changed the pitch dimensions to better suit the type of tactical style that he wants to play. Right, which is also another difference between NFL and baseball and the NBA because those those courts, they don't change. The regulations are the regulations. You have no flexibility inside of that.
Okay. So you guys were talking earlier, and if you guys don't know, Jennifer has a show, Five Stripes. It's on it.
Five Takes on the Five Stripes.
There you go. Thank you. 5 Takes on the Five Stripes. It airs Sunday. Great show. And you guys were talking about really some first world problems for Atlanta United. You were laughing at Charlotte for having 50,000 people when I think we have 70 to 80,000. So can you kind of speak to that? I mean, I look, they're not a rival, but if you can give them,
So Charlotte wants. So this it's really interesting. And again, this all has to do with the fact that out of the gate the team was very successful, and was really a great draw in the a great draw in the league. It was entertaining soccer. It was really fun to watch, and it was relatively inexpensive. It's still relatively inexpensive if you want to take your family to a sporting event. So and the Benz is a big building. And most of the time, the capacity at the Benz is like 45.5 because they don't open the third level for the Benz for every match. And they, back before the pandemic, there were matches where they opened it for more matches, and now they only do it 2 or 3 times a season, which is completely fine because we'd rather have the house be full. When they do open the third tier, I don't remember a match where we've pulled less than 65,000 people. Wow. In the 300 level. And I think the reason the home opener only had 65,000 is because I'm sure you've been in there, you've seen they're renovating a part of the 300 section at the top level because they're putting in more luxury suites and things like that ahead of the World Cup. So, it's kind of funny because Charlotte made a big deal about opening up their third tier and filling up the fortress, and they wound up having to close off 2/3 of the entire 500 level there because they did not sell the tickets. Right. And, not to say that our attendance was all that great last year. Our down year of attendance was still number 1 in the league. And it's interesting because what we were talking about on the podcast last night was the fact that if you hit the rewind button and you go back 10, 11, 15 years, MLS was struggling to draw 10,000 people per match. So now we're sitting here having a whole pity party and we're laughing at Charlotte because they can only draw 51,000 for their home opener. Like, I mean, you talk about champagne problems, but it's really indicative of the growth and the popularity of soccer in the United States.
Right.
And again, that boils down to affordability and accessibility because ultimately, and I'm not saying Atlanta is certainly not the cheapest ticket in town, and we're certainly not Miami either. Because Miami is gouging the hell out of their fans because they're all paying for Messi's T-shirts and Messi's boats and Messi's, piece of land and ownership stakes and everything. And God only knows what. Lord knows the whole league is paying for that because everybody's ticket prices have gone up.
Right.
But in general, you can still get a family of 4 out to a soccer match at the Benz for somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 to 150 bucks, and that includes eating and transportation.
That's great. That is great.
There's still $30 tickets to be had, 30-ish dollar tickets to be had. You can feed a whole family of 4 for 20 bucks in the Benz, which is great. And I hope that, I'm hopeful because the club has continued to increase ticket prices. There's a lot of people that were really upset about that. A lot of diehards, OG founding members that walked away from season tickets this past year because of another price hike when the team was doing so poorly. Right. So it's like, okay, well, what are we really paying for? Because you're not spending money on the field and the team sucks and we can't keep a manager in here and we're playing boring soccer and everybody wants to leave. And now you're going to raise ticket prices again. Wah, wah, wah. Again, champagne problem. So, okay, cool. Put your money where your mouth is. And frankly, the club has done that like in a lot of different ways. They went out and spent 47, we got in 47 million. They've gone at 47 million this past summer. They went out and spent, what was it? At least $36 million on new players. So it's not like the money's not going to make the team better. Yeah. Are there things that we liked better about the Benz in terms of like the food and beverage quality in years past? Absolutely. But there is no perfect stadium. Like there's nothing that's perfect. And every time I go to another stadium, I paid $16 for a hamburger.
Yeah, I heard that. Wow. Wow.
$16. Do you know what they were getting for? They were getting $5 for a bottle of water. A 16-ounce bottle of water was $5.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take my refillable soda for $2.
Amen. You know what?
I will take my $6 chicken finger and fry basket.
Amen. It's interesting, right? Because I don't think the Marlins get 50,000 in 4 games. So it's interesting the dichotomy that exists between certain lower tiered baseball teams and Atlanta United and teams of that ilk, because Atlanta United, say what you want, they sell out. You're getting at least 40. I would say you're getting at least 40 to 45,000 a night when you're in the bins.
Yeah, I think the average attendance, because of where we are season ticket or something like that, last year was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 42,000, and that was a down year for us. Yeah. Right? If this team starts winning, if the team starts really winning and starts making some noise, they will change some matches upcoming on the schedule to make them full cap. They're not going to open the third tier if they don't think it's going to fill up. Yeah. Bottom line, they're not going to open it just for the sake of opening it, right?
That makes sense.
So I would say in a typical year, in a normal year, your average is still going to be right around that $45,000 person sellout cap.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's again, that kind of speaks to where we are from a sports perspective in this country, because teams like Pittsburgh, the Marlins. If you gave me a list, I could probably give you 4 or 5 that routinely draw 20,000 at best per night. At best. Well,
and the Braves only draw when they're winning.
Yeah. Well, lucky for us, they're winning, but you're right.
But right. I mean, if you go back 4 years before the baby Braves did the whole thing. Right. Yeah. If you go back pre-pandemic and the first couple of years right after the pandemic where they weren't all that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were lucky. They were struggling to get 30,000 people in that building.
Yeah.
And people were, again, yelling at them for having moved to Cobb County and away from public transportation.
Yeah. Well, they look, 2014 to 2018, Braves sucked. I'll give you that, because they were going through a rebuilding. And every organization does this, right? Nobody's going to be good forever. You're going to have to go through some ebbs and flows. But the Marlins, I mean, I've seen nights where they have at max 7,000 in there.
Yeah.
Routinely. So I'm saying the popularity of soccer, and many may not know it, but it is growing. It is growing in this country. It is growing. Now, it may not be at the rate that we want it to grow, but it is growing. That's just my thoughts.
And the experience of going to a soccer match not at a Tinker Toy Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, but if you go to a soccer, it's built out of Tinker Toys. It's
Right.
literally, I was there. It felt like it was going to fall apart. It's the most plastic Barbie dream soccer pitch I've ever seen. Anywho, but like if you go to a real soccer specific stadium, like Geodis, which is the largest capacity soccer specific stadium in the country. If you go to, they've just renovated the park up in Columbus. Everybody says the venue is now phenomenal, but the one thing you lose playing in a big venue like the Benz or like Bank of America Stadium is you lose the intimacy. And we talked about this last week with like Bobby Dodd, with Debo, where like we were right on top of the players, and like most soccer specific pitches are set up where even if you're in like the tallest part of it, the highest part of it, you still have a great view to where you can see the player faces. You get into a big building like the Benz, it's really hard to create that kind of personal engagement. And I think that's one of the things that like has kept basketball going for so long, is because you can see the players' faces. You can watch them sweat. You can kind of form those personal bonds with them that you can't really do in helmeted sports per se. And you can't really do it in bigger venues. So you have to find really creative ways to create that connection with your fan bases. And because soccer isn't the same thing that it is in Europe, where these guys are all like boilerplate, recognizable superstars, right? Like can't go to a grocery store without getting mobbed and asked for autographs and things like that. I think you have an opportunity where with the clubs that do it the right way, create these connections with their fan bases and the community, with player appearances and access, and what Atlanta United in particular has done with like the Georgia 100 mini pitch project and all the community outreach. So there's, I think, different kinds of relationships. I also, and my boyfriend would completely disagree with me, but I think baseball is unfortunately going the way of the dodo bird.
Yes, unfortunately, I would agree. The average age of a baseball fan is 49 years old. That's scary. The average age, the average is basically 50. That's scary. What that says to me is young folks aren't watching it unless they're playing it. And to your point, that's scary. But let's get into this game. Let's get into it, right? Because I'd love your assessment. I know we came out lethargic.
We finished even more lethargic.
Yeah.
We had a couple of moments in the first half, like toward the end of the first half, where I felt like they were trying to get the wheels moving, grease the palms, do whatever they needed to do. But I still think the team is trying to find its identity.
Yeah.
I don't think they figured out who they are yet. I don't think they figured out the tactics and the play style, because the way that this match set up and the way this match was played looked really different than what we saw with the home opener. And we're still missing a very big, important chunk of our defense.
Yeah.
And we had a last minute scratch with, who is likely our projected starting midfielder. So we were playing with some different personnel out there. And I don't know that, subbing Jay Fortune for Cleach is a downgrade per se, because I think a lot of Jay Fortune, I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. He looked great all season last year. Again, I think Bartosz Ślisz, who's our big number 6 defensive midfielder, I think he plays better stylistically with a different style of midfielder around him.
Yeah.
Lisa's asking what happened in the second half of those 2 quick goals. I can tell you right now what happened in the second half of those 2 quick goals. We fell asleep.
Yeah.
We coughed up 2 really bad bonehead giveaways where it's basically like we weren't checked in for basically the whole half of the second half. And then when we finally did check in, it was too late.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the one specifically where it bounced over the fullback's head. Yeah. Instead of playing back, he went for it. And once it went over his head, that was it. Because now the striker is unabated and he drives down. I think on that one, he kicked it and the goalie blocked it and it went back out to Za, and Za just scored. I think
that's a poacher's goal. That's a poacher's goal. That's exactly why you paid to borrow. And I want to be very clear about this. They don't own Zaha. Zaha's here on a loan. Zaha did not say, "Oh, I'm going to come make my home in MLS and, take this to the next stage of my career." No. Zaha's on a loan.
What does that mean when you
So
say
in soccer, you can acquire players in a couple of different mechanisms, right?
Okay.
You can transfer, you can pay a transfer fee, bring in a player who's under contract with another team, and then you negotiate with that player and they sign a new contract with you. Okay. That's what we did with Latte Lot.
Okay.
Right. That's what we did with Miguel Almiron. We paid big transfer fees that we negotiated with their clubs, and then we went and negotiated individual terms with the players and said, "Okay, come here, play for us." Right.
Okay.
You can draft players and groom them and cultivate them, or you can scout players and grow them out of your academy. We talked about that last week. Or you can borrow players from other teams that need, maybe it's a young player who needs more playing time, right? And your 11 is full. So you send this player to a lower division team where they're going to start so that they can develop and not sit on the bench and waste their time.
That makes sense.
So, I don't remember the whole story on Zaha, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend I can make it all up. I do know he had some, let's just call it locker room issues with prior clubs in Europe, where he may or may not have been the best personality fit where he was at. So that's that, so I guess they were looking for they didn't want to give up on him completely because clearly the talent is there. But they weren't ready to fully transfer. Now that can also change. You can loan a player and they may or may not, there may be an option to buy that player. Okay. Whether or not Charlotte wants to buy the player, that's not, every loan deal doesn't always work like that. Okay. But a lot of times that's something that you do. You loan out a player. They basically have a part season or a whole season long tryout to see if they're a good fit. If they are, then you go to work negotiating a permanent transfer. Okay. Right. That's actually what we did with Barco. Barco was loaned to River Plate. And then I think was it last year, the year before, we finally completed the transfer deal of him to River Plate. And then River Plate sold him to some club in Russia. And we wound up making all of our money back plus an extra $4 or $5 million on him with that transfer to Russia because we had add-on deals if River Plate sold him on. It's very complicated. The money in global soccer just doesn't make any sense. But all that being said, Zaha is a tremendously talented player, and they've also got in Charlotte a young up and coming player whose last name I'm not going to try to pronounce because I butcher it every time, but it's Patrick Abergermingeme, and I should learn how to say his name because in a couple of years he is probably going to be one of the starting strikers for the U.S. men's national team. He's brilliant, and it was a treat to see him play. And look, Charlotte's got a great defense. They had a very good defense last year. Their goalie won the Golden Glove last season. So they were not a slouch team. What they didn't have was any offensive firepower, right? And now they have a lot more up top. So, there's no question that Charlotte is a top 4, top 5 team in the Eastern Conference this year. They should be playing, they should be challenging for better things this year than they have been. So it was, and we're in this really on paper tough part of the schedule out of the gate because we're playing right now, basically all of the top on paper, all of the top teams in the East right now before we have a chance to really get a month of training under us, to get everybody together, to get them on the same page, to get the defense healthy. So we did. And Yuri, you're absolutely correct. We had a couple of really great chances. There's one that Latte Loft he was right on the doorstep of it. And it just, oh man. It was really frustrating to watch. So, it's hard not to go when you get one match a week, it's so hard not to go full on doom and gloom. And when you've been suffering like we've been suffering for the better part of the last 7 years, it's really hard not to go full on doom and gloom and to have the patience it's going to take. But I'm going to say it tonight the same way I said it last night. I also don't want to be the team that is peaking week 2, week 3.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That is a very good point.
You don't want to. You can't lose a championship at the beginning of the season, you can set it up to where you're going to make your road to a championship a lot harder. But ultimately, because we have playoffs, you're not playing, for table, it's not a top table structure, but because we have playoffs, you need to play yourself into a position to where your momentum is really kicking in come, September and October to take you through the playoffs.
That's a good point.
That's what it matters.
That's a very good point. And you see that in all sports, right? You see oftentimes it's not even the best team during the year that wins. It's the team that gets hot and is playing the best at that time. So that's true.
You look at Miami last year. They come in here, they set a new, points record for MLS. Nobody's ever won more points than they have. In the history of the league, they got 74 points last year, right? They won the Supporters Shield, which is a funny story I can tell you in a minute about like the Supporters Shield because it's an interesting trophy. But we came in and knocked them out first round of the playoffs. Why? Because, Rob Valentino had everybody ready to run through a brick wall, and Brad Guzan decided nobody was getting through him. Okay, cool. You hit that. Was it last year or the year before where the Braves ran into the Phillies who were on that like end of season tear?
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like when you clinch a division early and you get all comfortable in, where you're at and you start resting guys, you lose that hunger, you lose that fire, you lose that momentum. And then, your upstart guy who's been scrapping just to get at the wild card spot.
Yeah.
They've got much, their chemistry is just in a better spot.
Yeah.
To go in and be successful in that series. You see it happen all the time.
Yeah.
Look who came out of the NFC. It certainly wasn't the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what do we, I don't follow football all that closely, but again, it's very, very often the guys that have, the teams that have the momentum that come in being the upstarts.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that win championships.
That's true. I wanted to talk to you because I know when I played soccer, and I did. I played for 3 years until I got an injury, but we did a drill called one touch, right?
Yeah.
And it was you've heard it before. You kick the ball all the way down the field, one touch, control. Yeah. I noticed in about at least maybe 4 or 5 of our chances, if we just take the shot initially when we're there within that, we got a better shot. Because I saw literally three opportunities where because we dribbled, the goalie was able to come in and close off that area. And now you don't have a shot. Whereas if when you touch it, if you shoot it, then you got a better shot. And look, right. I know I'm splitting hairs, but no. I'd love your thoughts on that.
So I think everybody would like to see the club in general, like the offense in general, physically taking more shots. It was a big thing last year. They would spend all this time working the buildup and trying to get the ball into the box, and then nothing would ever happen. They wouldn't even attempt a shot on goal. And I think this goes back to the whole chemistry thing and trying to figure out where everybody's supposed to be on the pitch, because you've got this guy in Latte Lot who is going to scoop up any little dribble of a rebound that he can get his paws on and put it in the net, right? When I followed hockey really closely, I was constantly pucks at the net, boys, pucks at the net. It's the Gretzky thing. It's the, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So I think we have the kind, do we have skill on the offense in Moranchuk and Latte Lot, and I'm sorry, Moranchuk and Miggy, who can absolutely hit the worldy benders from the parking lot, right? But you've got guys in Saba and in Latte who are, basically garbage collectors. You want to know why Joseph Martinez is one of the most prolific scorers in this league, and he's like, look, they bill him at 5'7". He's not 5'7". He's tiny. He's a tiny man. He's a tiny bundle of fire with like a 20-foot aerial. Right. And he made his living picking up garbage. Literally crash the net, find a way to poke it home. And Latte Lot is going to be able to do that and do that even better because he's got 4 inches on Joseph. And he's got a Joseph level vertical. But is he, Do we have the pieces picking up on that yet? I don't know. I don't know that they figured that out. And there was a lot of, unfortunately, what we saw this match, there's a lot of regression to some really old bad habits from last year that I don't think Ronnie Dyla has been able to break them out of yet.
The 45th through the 55th minute, I have no idea what happens to us. I don't know. I have no idea.
Maddening. It's maddening because, again, the level of talent that we have, the talent should carry us to a certain point to at least allow us to kind of get our feet under us. And, my concern is that we dig too deep a hole while the team is figuring itself out, that then we don't get into a position where we can get home field in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the big concern here. Cause I do think, and I'm, still, in early season optimist mode. I keep telling everybody, ask me how I feel in June. Ask me how I feel in June, because I think if we'll know what this team really is, by the middle of April. And when we get into May, cause May is a really, May is a really like tough month for us schedule wise. So yeah, it's going to be, I'm hopeful. I'm still hopeful that the team will figure it out. But like, I also don't expect this team. I didn't expect this team to like walk out and play like they've been playing together for, 3 to 4 seasons. Right. And there are, for the most part, that Charlotte core has been together for 3 or 4 seasons. They haven't made that many wholesale changes. What they've done is supplement, a core of talent with, with 2 really big play. Well, number one, they're actually giving Patrick minutes to play. They weren't giving him those minutes last year.
Yeah.
Right. And number 2, they finally brought in a top flight offensive talent that they've never had the likes of before. They've never had anybody as good as Zaha on that roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does it suck? It was a rivalry match. Yeah. But like in the greater scheme of things, is this the moment to panic? No, I'd be panicking if we're still seeing this in the middle of April. If we get to and part of that too is the schedule we have coming up, because we have Red Bulls who we never play well against. We've never found. Yeah, we've never. Yeah, I hate them. You want to talk about rivals? They're the team. They're one of the teams that I hate the most. I hate them. Yeah. I hate them. Crush the energy drinks. Then after that, we have Miami. And the Miami match is going to be really interesting because you're at the start of an international break. I know Messi's been called up to Argentina, and I believe those are World Cup qualifying matches, which means Messi's going to play international. And Messi also, they are prioritizing CONCACAF Champions Cup, and Messi will have travel. And I think Messi is going to travel to Jamaica because it will be the first time he's ever played in Jamaica, and they moved that match from the normally 5,000 capacity stadium that this Calvary FC has to the national stadium that seats 35,000 in Jamaica, because that's how bad everybody wants to see Messi play.
Wow. Okay.
So I give it a 50-50 shot that Messi actually shows up. I might actually go a little bit 30-70 that we get a Messi sighting. Again, because you have the international break and because he's got a Thursday Champions Cup match. So I don't know if he will even be I don't know that he would even be in the 11, frankly. I don't know that it matters. They've racked up a couple of red cards already this season. Like it's interesting. And this isn't to sell Busquets and Alba short. And this isn't to sell, Luis Suarez short, who I can't stand, but the man pushed. Did you see the playoffs last year? He pushed Brad into the net, and the refs did absolutely nothing about it.
Yes, I did.
It was awful.
Yes,
it was awful.
And you can get even during the game. Like you can correct that. You can correct that.
Yeah. But I think also too the conditions. And I mean, I'm again not making excuses. It was windy as hell. I will say it was windy as hell in that stadium. So, I mean, you could see the balls, like even if they were weighted properly, they were kicked properly, they weren't necessarily going as far or going to the exact spaces that I think the players would have wanted them to. And again, I'm not trying to make apologies or excuses, because at this point in time, I'm pretty much as fed up as everybody else is with this bullshit, especially coming out flat to start second halves and conceding immediately at the start of the second half and digging ourselves yet more holes to try to come out of. I'm hopeful that Ronnie Dyla can find a way to like break them of that. Like that's just I don't think he's had enough time to do it. But yeah, so then after Miami, we have Cincinnati and we have NYCFC. And not that NYCFC is like ooh whatever. And FC Dallas, I don't know. They just got Lucho Acosta, who is a terror in this league. I don't know how integrated he will be. Cincy on paper, even though it's not how they've started the season, but Cincy on paper should be tearing this league up, and they're not yet because I think they're kind of in a similar situation to where we are, but they have a better defense. Like they just brought in a really top tier player in Denke, who was the record inbound MLS transfer fee until we signed Latte Lot.
Gotcha.
Right.
Let me ask you, I'm sorry. Let me ask you. So would you say, right? We're 1-1, right? Mm-hmm. If we go 500, which means we win 3, lose 3 over the next 6 games, under the circumstances, would you say that is a success or failure if basically you're treading water by the time you get into mid-April? If basically you're 500, right? So if we go 3-3, we'd be 4-4 by the time we hit mid-April. Is that a success to you? With the understanding that we have a new coach, new scheme, new system, or is that a failure? Just give me your thoughts on that.
I think you got to win your home matches first and foremost, and that is not something that we did with any kind of success last year.
Okay.
So I would say we've got, if you're talking about those 3 wins being us becoming more dominant at home, that would bode pretty well. But on the other hand, you got to figure out how to win on the road in this league. So I would say if we're looking at by the time we get to mid-April, I don't know that 500 I would consider acceptable. I think they definitely need to be on the positive side of the table.
Okay.
In terms of that, I don't want to see a bunch of draws, and I certainly don't want to see like a bunch of coughed up leads or a bunch of coughed up, trash goals like we saw this past weekend where we're chasing the match just to get a draw. Yeah. Right. Yeah. If you've got a lead and, somebody makes a mistake, especially with where the defense is right now and, having to play, a rookie like Matt Edwards, who, let me tell you, Matt Edwards had a great first half containing Zaha. You're talking about a 22-year-old kid who had up until, 2 weeks ago had never started an MLS match before. And you're putting him on Zaha. You're putting that kid to defend Zaha, who's the best player that Charlotte has on the team. And he did a great job of that in the first half. And then he got his lunch handed to him in the second. And that's okay because he's a 22-year-old kid and he's going to have to learn sometime. Yeah. I'm hopeful that once we get one or both of Brooks Lennon and Pedro Amador back, the defense is going to look a lot better. Right. And we will start shoring some of this up. And, one of the interesting things is we still have 2 senior roster spots open that Chris Henderson has come out and said, yeah, I'm going to wait and see what we got. And then look what holes we got to plug and fill. Right. And I also want to give a really big shout out to, and I did this on our podcast yesterday, but Dominic Chonki, who made his MLS debut at the age of 17. Can't even drive a car, but he can get out on an MLS soccer pitch. And look, if you haven't had a chance to see this kid play in preseason where he really lit it up and played some really good, he looked fantastic out there to the point where I don't know that he wouldn't necessarily do better than Matt Edwards in the starting role. We have a pretty grand tradition of raising center backs and left backs in our academy, right? Like we've done really, really well with those positions. Okay. So this kid, this kid looks like he's in the Caleb Wiley mold. Okay. Which is rarefied air to be in, but like he definitely needs another full season at the twos where he's going to play all the time, as opposed to being up on the first team roster and sitting on the bench most of the time. And again, this is it's the same thing with the goalie. We've got a very promising young goalie in Jordan Hibbert, right? He is not ready to sit as a backup goalie. He needs to play because you can't learn how to steer the ship unless you're actually riding on the ship.
Steering the ship, right. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So I don't know that I would be okay with 500. I think we have to be at least +1 match to the good of 500 for me to be happy. If we're getting to mid-April, if we're and again the parity, like because of the salary cap and things like that, and because you can't, we talked about this last week too. The parity is what makes MLS interesting and fun to watch. You just never know what teams are going to come up with.
Okay.
Like Philly out of the, Philly sold off every piece of talent they have, and they've come out of the gate looking like world beaters because they finally got out. Maybe it's because they finally got out from under the foot of Jim Curtin. I don't know, but like they threw a smackdown on Cincinnati this past week, and they ripped Orlando at home opening weekend. Like that's unexpected as hell. No one had that on their bingo card. So, this is a team that sold their top talent to somebody else in the league when the guy's just breaking into the national team. And, there was a lot of other reasons that moving Jack McGlynn was not a great move on their part. But who might argue they're sitting on top of the table right now?
Well, let me ask you this. Of these next 6 games, looking at this schedule, who are the teams that you look at that you say, hey, man, that's a victory? That's a victory we got to have. We should beat this team unequivocally.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up because I can't really see it. Atlanta United. Okay, so let's see here. More matches.
I can make this.
No. We're good. I think the only I think if we, I would be really disappointed if we don't beat FC Dallas. I'd be really disappointed if we don't beat FC Dallas. We have not played historically well against NYCFC. But that would be a winnable match. And then I think, God, we always play like I hate Philly so much. They're going to roll around like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and then New England. So like these next 3 matches are going to be really tricky. The 3 matches after that should be, in theory, slightly lesser opposition. But again, it's MLS and it's Forrest Gump. You never know what you're going to get in that box of chocolate.
You never know what you're going to get.
Nope.
Wow.
And Lisa's asking about going to Atlanta United 2 matches. I don't go to enough Atlanta United 2 matches. They play up in Kennesaw at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. We like to call it action at the fraction. It's cute little whatever. Going to 2's matches is fantastic. It's super cheap. The parking's free. You literally can stand right on the pitch. You can hear the players yell at each other. They're not, unfortunately, super well attended. So pretty much you buy a ticket, you can just kind of wander down and kind of stand wherever you want to go. But you do get to see some high quality soccer. But I think you have to go and watch a 2's match with, trying to look at it from a developmental standpoint and like going to appreciate the quality of the game that you're seeing and not necessarily the outcome. The intent with MLS Next Pro isn't necessarily to win MLS Next Pro as a league, right? The intent with MLS Next Pro is to develop MLS level players. So you can look at all the failure that our academy has had in the last season, that the 2's have had, where like they're not making the playoffs or whatever.
Right.
Then you also have to look and see the quality of the homegrown players that are coming up in the system.
Right. So their goals are twofold, right? Yes, you want to win, but the primary objective is to develop the talent.
Yes,
for the top tier for Atlanta United, which that's like a minor league team in any organization. That's like the Stripers for the Braves and the I believe the College Park, whatever they are for the Atlanta Hawks. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So
as long as, but I mean, it is a really good time. I mean, I want to say tickets are like $10 or $12. It's super reasonable. Free parking, concessions are a little bit more expensive than the Benz, but they're not horribly expensive. You can tailgate. There's a nice group of people that go there. A lot of time, depending on like if you've got people on injured reserve or if they're playing on a different day, especially the younger guys from the first team. The coaching staff from the first team, they'll go in there. You'll see them in the press box. You can kind of go up there and, shake hands, get a high five, sometimes even get an autograph if you're polite about it. And the guys on the pitch are also really good about signing stuff after the match and things like that. So it's nice. You can get some quality interaction there. And they broadcast, Soccer Down Here does a lot of the broadcast coverage. So Soccer Down Here, the big grassroots general soccer podcast community that we have, we're really lucky to have. They're a phenomenal organization. And they cover every level of the sport. If you've got any interest in soccer from high school to college, like they cover all of that stuff. It's fantastic. Okay. So, but they usually call the twos matches, and they'll broadcast those on their, I think it's a Mixler channel that they use for it. But yeah, it's a good time. It's definitely a good time. Great. And especially if you've got, kids that have never been to a sporting event, or maybe kids that don't do well with huge crowds. Yeah. This is a great way to get your kid introduce them to it in a way that's not intimidating or overly crazy the way the atmosphere at the Benz can get.
Okay. Yeah.
And see how they do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've got some nieces who are autistic and they hate noise. Yeah. And so that would be a good suggestion for them. I want to shift gears here a little bit, have a little bit of fun with you, because you like fun. So
I do. I'm a good time, Charlie.
That is readily evident. You like fun. So you were talking about a concert on your podcast. So I picked 3 groups, right? I'm gonna give you the lyrics. I'm gonna give you the lyrics. You have to guess the artist and the song. Now, one of them you're going to guess right away. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. But the other 2 I'm not so sure about, all right? So I'm going to give you a choice. Which do you want first? Do you want the easy one first? Or do you want the 2 more difficult ones?
I'm going to go with the 2 more difficult ones so that when I miss the easy one, I don't look like a total jack-off.
I promise you, you will not miss the easy one. I promise you won't.
You promise me I won't?
Okay, well, promise you.
Okay, well, I'll start out. Okay, in the words of Miss Tina Turner, we're gonna do it nice and rough.
I like it. All right. So, first song. Hear the lyrics. Let's fade into the sun. Let your spirit fly, where we are one, just for a little fun. Oh, oh, oh yeah. You mean do it again?
Can you sing it?
Oh God, you don't want that, but okay, I'll do the best. I'm gonna tell you something.
Was this the easy one that I'm supposed to know?
It's not the easy one, but my wife, who's in the next room, is not gonna like this because she hates my voice. But I'll do my best. All right, so let's fade into the sun. Let your spirit fly, where we are one, just for a little fun. Oh, oh, oh yeah. No, nothing.
No, nothing.
God, Lord.
No.
Jesus. All right. No. Wow. This guy has a lot of hair. You're a fan of hair. A lot of hair.
A lot of hair. Is he from my millennium?
He is from. I'm 54, so he would have been from my time. He was once married.
Wait. No, that's Jimi Hendrix.
No. He had
a lot of hair.
Younger than
Jimi Hendrix.
He was once married to Lisa Bonet.
I was just going to say, is it Lenny Kravitz?
Yes, it is Lenny Kravitz. Yes. All right. The next one.
You said big hair. My first guess is Jimi Hendrix. My second guess was Lenny Kravitz.
I should have led with big hair. All right. So second one. This is a group. Okay. It's a rap. Radio suckers never play me. On the mix, they just okay me. Now known and grown, where they clocking my zone, it's known. Snaking and taking everything that a brother owns. Hard, my calling card. Recorded and ordered. Supporter of Chesimard. Loud and proud. Kick it live next poet supreme. Looper troop. Bazooka, the scheme. Here's a hint. You reference them on your show.
God. No,
You referenced them. You referenced them on your show. Yes, Lisa got it right. It's Public Enemy, Rebel Without a Pause. It's Public Enemy, Rebel Without a Pause. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I know you're going to get this one. Okay?
I suck. See, Lisa, this is why we needed you on the podcast, is to make me look good.
Yeah, Lisa, you probably would have guessed both of them. All right, so we got a Dixon Way raid coming in, by the way. What up, King Philip? What up, Humanity? What up, Breeze 1500? All right, so here's the third song. All right, my, I tried to hold you back, but you were stronger. Oh yeah, and now it seems my only chance is giving up the fight. And how could I ever refuse? I feel like I win when I lose. You absolutely love this group.
I know I do.
You referenced them and this song on the show. You referenced this song. You referenced singing this song on the show.
This is why I can't ever go on Jeopardy.
Oh my God! Come on, Jen, you referenced.
I know. I'm trying to. I'm like going through. I'm going through the bands. I'm trying to go through the bands in my head.
All right, I'll give you another hint.
No, it's like when I can. I'm singing it in my head, but I can't get like the rest of the freaking song.
Think about the accent that you were doing at the beginning of the show, and the place that you referenced.
The Swedish.
Okay. And what group?
Who's from Sweden and that's coming to Shaky Knees?
At least
ABBA. It's ABBA.
There you go.
Oh,
there
God.
you go. There you go.
Yeah, no. I was like, yeah. So yes. Okay, that's Waterloo. That's Waterloo.
Right. That is Waterloo. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, Waterloo.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay. Cool. I feel like I'm less of a loser. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I literally just watched an entire musical filled with ABBA songs and I clearly didn't remember what any of the lyrics are.
Jen, it's okay. Look, one thing about you, you're fun. So
thank you.
I have to involve an element of fun whenever you're on my show. I am here
for it.
So we will do things like this whenever we do a show together. But I knew when I was putting it, I was like, she's going to get Waterloo. I'm not going to give her that. I'll give her the opportunity. But I know she's going to get Waterloo, right? Yes. And so it's all good. You mentioned Public Enemy, so I was like, okay, if you mentioned Public Enemy, maybe you like them. And
I do like Public Enemy, but like it's been like I saw them on the lineup drop, and I was like, man, it has been a minute since I listened to them.
Yep.
It has been a hot minute. I did actually have the privilege several years ago of seeing what was left of Rum DMC.
Yep.
Yeah, right. In a private concert at an event that I was doing. And it was like a tourism development conference in the Dominican Republic. And Hard Rock always used to host it. And they would bring in a really good, like a big act. Right. So one year they brought in Run DMC. Well, just the run part. Cause obviously Jam Master Jay is no longer with us.
Right, correct.
And I'm telling you, there were 30 people that stayed for that show. 30 people. I couldn't believe it. Out of a conference of like 2,000 delegates, nobody knew the music. That's all, there are a lot of people from Central Latin America, South America, Europe. It was definitely not that kind of crowd. But for the 30 of us that knew who that was, it was amazing. We got so many selfies. It was dope. It was dope. And he played, and I was like grooving a tricky and whatever. And it was pretty cool. But yeah, so that was my Run DMC story for the day.
Well, you know what? That's a beautiful thing. You're gonna have to tell us because I bet you got a bunch of them. You got to tell us your story. But do me a favor, tell these folks where they can find you. Also, tell them about your hotel in Costa Rica.
All right. Well, before we get to the whole rundown of where you can find Jen, I do need to tip one out tonight to a very special human that We tragically lost this past October, and today would have been his birthday, and he was a big old Falcons fan. He was big old Falcons, almost as big of a Falcons fan as he was a United fan, and that was our former capo, Macaroni Tony. Tony, he was violently taken from us this past October. It was horrible. It was horrible. We did quite a bit of tribute and in game to him, and he would die if he knew I was on a football podcast. He'd be like, "Jen, who are you?" He'd be like, "Jen, you need to give that seat up and let me come in here and show you what's what and show you what's what." And then I would chase him off with a possum because he hated possums so much. He was petrified of them. It was the cutest thing ever. Anyway, Tony, wherever you are, we miss you, bro. And I hope your party. I know wherever he is, he's having a good time because he was absolutely the life of the party. So I just didn't want to let today go without acknowledging him because, beautiful human, gone way too soon. As far as finding all the fun stuff, I will be at the Atlanta United tailgate at Lot 17, conveniently located across from the Reverb by Hard Rock Hotel, beginning around 3:30 on Saturday and going until we fall over. Hopefully after celebrating a victory against the hated energy drinks from New Jersey. Make no mistake, they are not a New York team. They do not play in New York. They play in Harrison, New Jersey, and they will forever be the New Jersey Red Bulls. Anywho. That's neither here nor there. Let's see. If you want to hear more of my ramblings, you can tune into 5 Takes on the 5 Stripes. We are a mostly weekly podcast breaking down 5 things about the most recent Atlanta United match. You can follow us on all the socials at 5 Takes on the 5 Stripes with the word 5 spelled out. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Facebook. We're on Insta. We are also part of the Atlanta United Fan TV network. We have a completely free to join Discord, really good soccer talk and banter in there. And if you haven't done so already and you're interested, we do have a really fun and free MLS table prediction contest that you can get. I think there's links to it on all of our bios right now. You can go in. It's free to play. We've got some fabulous swag prizes. Predict how the table's gonna turn out this season, and the entries have to be finalized after this Sunday's match. You had the first 3 matches to figure out what the league was going to look like, and then you had to lock in your selections, and you're stuck with it for the rest of the year. But come say hi. Come say hi on the Discord. We're in there. We're yakking all the time, just talking some footy and talking some general stuff. It's a really nice community. And then, when I'm not doing Atlanta United things, I run a hotel in Costa Rica. My hotel's called Chateau Arenal. We are conveniently located about 15 minutes from the Arenal Volcano National Park, convenient to either airport and in the middle of all the adventure, fabulous activities that you want to do in Costa Rica. We're a kilometer from the lake with all kinds of water sports, jet skis and paddle boats and kayaks and paddle boards. And the biggest zip line in the area is 5 minutes from the hotel. Gorgeous infinity pool, really cool, on the rustic side, right? Like this is not like a 5-star super swanky ultra luxury lodge, but if you want to go to Costa Rica and explore the country and get in touch with the culture, we're absolutely the kind of place that you want to be at. And chateauarenal.com is our website. You follow us on all the socials as well. I think we're doing a giveaway. We've got we just shared we're doing a contest to win a free stay there. So hey, go follow us on social media and maybe you can win a free stay.
Well, all right. Thank you for joining us, Jennifer. Hey, hopefully next Monday we'll be discussing a victory.
Man, I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
And just so you know, I am not going to be able to come in on the 24th to discuss the Cincy match because I will be in Panama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have to be in Panama. Oh, darn. I have to go get some rum and a new Panama hat. Even though, actually, did you know that Panama hats don't actually come from Panama?
I did not know that. Where did they come from?
Ecuador.
Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't know that either until I went to Panama and asked my destination manager about where I could buy a genuine Panama hat, and they said I had to go to Ecuador.
You know, it's just these little things like this. That's just part of your charm, Jen, as to why we love to have you, because you have all these stories. And hey, man, we're going to miss you the week of the 24th, but it's okay. We got you next week, and we'll appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be discussing the victory. To everybody who did join us, Dixon Way, all the folks from the raid, Lisa, Chris, A1, Atlanta Kool-Aid drinkers, Corey Evans, Dr. Dixon, Mason Prow, Lisa Shepherd, we got you there. Breeze, Humanity, King Philip, everybody. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. Breeze 1500, Sports and Society. Everybody who joined, thank you. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. You could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be with us. Cannot thank you enough. Want to thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. I can be reached at For My ATL Sports 1 on YouTube. Again, the number 4, My ATL Sports on number 1. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we will come to you again next Monday regarding the Atlanta United, hopefully discussing a victory. Last but not least, I want to thank Miss Lisa Shepherd. I want to thank Mr. Jack Spade, who gave me my start in this business, and my brother Eric Parker as well. You guys have an amazing night and an amazing week, and we will see you when we see you. Good night, everybody.
Hooty hoo!